Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, imagine this. A global entertainment company, one focused on immersive experiences, suddenly finds itself in this really high-stakes corporate drama, a real battle for its future. That's pretty much the scene we're setting today.
Right.
Our topic for this deep dive is this intense proxy contest that's unfolding right now for control of Allied Gaming and Entertainment, Inc. That's AGE, trading on NASDAQ, ticker AGAE.
And for this deep dive, our main source, well, it comes straight from AGE itself. It's a recent, pretty detailed letter they sent out directly to their stockholders. So we're getting their side, their unfiltered perspective on, what's going on behind the curtain in this corporate fight.
Absolutely. And our mission here is really to unpack AGE's side of this crucial vote. We want to look at their arguments, their strategy, and, well, why they believe they should stay in charge. So, where do we even start with this battle? It sounds intense.
Well, the main event, the thing this all hinges on, is AGE's combined 2024-2025 annual meeting of stockholders. It's set for August 4th, 2025. And for stockholders listening, the key date, the record date for voting eligibility, was actually June 25th, 2025.
Okay, so that determines who gets a say.
Exactly. That's the cutoff.
And when you look at who's involved, the main contenders, it seems pretty clear-cut, right?
It does. On one side, you've got the company itself, AGAE, represented by their current board of directors and the management team.
Okay.
And they are strongly urging stockholders to vote for their 6 director nominees, people they're calling highly qualified.
And they want people to use the white proxy card, specifically.
That's their key instruction, use the white card. Then on the other side, you have Knighted Pastures, LLC.
Right, the challenger.
Exactly. And AGE's letter, well, it describes him as a self-serving dissident stockholder. It's led by its managing partner, Roy Choi.
Okay, self-serving, strong words.
Very. The core accusation from AGE is basically that Knighted is trying to grab control of the board and the company's resources, really for their own benefit. And, crucially, without paying what's known as a control premium to the other stockholders.
This control premium.
Yeah.
So that's like offering a higher price per share to justify taking control. AGAE saying Knighted wants control without paying up for it.
That's the gist of it, yeah. It's a pretty standard argument in these kinds of fights. And what's really at the heart of this, at least from AG's viewpoint, is their claim that Knighted Pastures has actually destroyed stockholder value before, and now they're trying this hostile takeover of the board. AGAE, naturally, is arguing that their current team has the right strategy and, importantly, a proven track record.
It's a very stark contrast they're drawing for shareholders. A clear us versus them.
Definitely.
So how does AGA actually push back? I mean, what's their evidence? It looks like their strongest argument revolves around their financial performance.
That seems to be the cornerstone, yeah. They're not just talking hypotheticals. They're pointing to some, frankly, pretty impressive results.
Like what?
Okay, so as of June 24th, 2025, their total stockholder return, TSR, hit 241% for the prior one-year period.
Wow, 241%.
Yeah, and it was 123% for the 3-year period and 34% over 5 years.
Those are solid numbers.
And what's really striking, or what they want you to see as striking, is how that compares to their peers. AGAE really emphasizes they've significantly outperformed.
Okay, compared to who?
Well, they name names. GameSquare Holdings, Inc., for instance, saw a negative 24% one-year TSR. Superlead Enterprise, Inc., down 87%.
Ouch.
Enthusiast Gaming Holdings, down 52%. And NIP Group, Inc., down 81% since its IPO in July 2024.
So AG is using these numbers to say, look, we're delivering, especially compared to the competition. It counters any narrative that they're struggling.
Precisely. It's their way of demonstrating their leadership isn't just, holding on, but actually thriving in what can be a tough market, directly challenging any idea of instability.
And beyond just the stock price, they also talk about revenue growth, right?
Yeah, they do. They highlight 19% growth in fiscal year 2024 over 2023.
Okay.
And they're projecting continued year-over-year growth for 2025 as well. Plus, their balance sheet looks pretty strong. They reported $71.5 million in cash and short-term investments at the end of 2024.
That's a decent chunk of change. Useful in a proxy fight, I imagine.
Definitely. And it also ties into their strategic vision and what they've been doing recently.
Right.
They point to a key leadership transition that happened just recently, June 26, 2025. Yang, James Lee, took over as president and CEO of AGE.
Okay, new CEO.
Well, sort of. Ying-Hua Chen, who had been CEO since September 2022, she's still CEO of Allied Esports International.
The subsidiary.
Exactly, the wholly owned subsidiary. And her focus now is apparently on content strategy and developing their animation and gaming businesses. Mr. Lee was already president since April 2024, so it seems like a planned evolution in leadership roles.
Makes sense, like a division of labor to focus on specific growth areas.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of growth, what are those areas?
Their focus remains firmly on gaming and immersive entertainment. But interestingly, they're actively pursuing what they call real-world asset tokenization, or RWA tokenization.
RWA. Okay, that's blockchain territory.
It is. They're aiming to integrate crypto and blockchain tech deeper into what they offer. It shows they're definitely looking at, innovating in that whole digital assets space.
So it's not just talk. Do they have examples of this vision in action?
They do. They point to several key strategic moves. First, there's the launch of the World Mahjong Tour, WMT.
Mahjong. Interesting.
Yeah. They held their first beginner-level tournament back in February 2025. It was at the HyperX Arena in Las Vegas, attracted over 150 people.
Okay.
And the plan, they say, is for WMT to operate on a business model similar to the very successful World Poker Tour.
Oh, okay. Leverage a proven model. Smart.
Seems like the idea. Then there's this co-branded music festival, Rhythm XX Strawberry Music Festival.
A music festival.
Yeah, partnered with companies in Beijing and Macau. It's scheduled for October in Macau in a huge new 50,000 capacity outdoor venue.
Wow.
And AGAE says they're taking the lead on coordinating Western artists, project management, marketing. A pretty big undertaking.
Definitely expands their entertainment footprint.
Yeah.
Anything else?
One more thing they highlighted was a strategic investment they made back in January 2025. They invested in the production of the Angry Birds Movie 3.
Angry Birds. Okay, diversifying into film IP.
Right, through a company called Flywheel Media. They frame this as a commitment to investing in iconic intellectual properties, things with broad appeal and potential across different platforms. So it's not just pure gaming anymore.
Got it. And that's $71.5 million in cash. What's the plan for that?
They laid out a pretty clear, tiered plan. First priority is organic growth, including building out that World Mahjong Tour.
Makes sense.
Second is potential M&A mergers, acquisitions, or other strategic investments. And third, maybe share buybacks down the line.
So a structured approach to using their capital. Okay, that's a pretty robust defense of their record and strategy from AGAE.
It is. They're clearly trying to build a strong case for continuity. But like you said, in any big corporate fight, there are always accusations flying the other way.
Right. So what is AGA actually alleging against Knighted Pastures and Roy Choi? They could just be saying, we're better.
Oh, they're definitely not holding back. AGAE claims, quite bluntly, that Knighted has no business plan.
No plan at all.
That's the claim. And that they only want control, again, without paying that premium. They also bring up history.
Like what?
They point to two deals Knighted apparently proposed back in 2022, which AGAE calls ill-advised cash-burning and pre-revenue acquisitions.
Okay, examples.
One was supposedly a high-risk children's film company with negligible revenue. The other was a business losing around $700,000 a month.
Wow.
AGAE says their board looked at these and wisely said no thanks.
So they're painting Knighted as having poor judgment on potential deals.
That seems to be the implication. And then there's the issue of engagement, or lack thereof, according to AGE.
How so?
AGAE says it tried to find common ground, but Knighted just refused. They claim they offered Roy Choi a board observer seat back in March 2022.
An observer seat, so not a full director, but can sit in meetings.
Right. Apparently he declined. Then later, in October 2024, they say they offered him an actual director seat on the board.
A full seat this time.
Yes. Which, again, AGA says he rejected. And apparently his counterproposal was pretty bold.
What did he want?
According to AGAE, he demanded 4 out of the 7 board seats and wanted 3 current directors removed.
4 out of 7. That's effective control right there.
Exactly. AGAE frames it as him seeking unilateral control of the company.
And they also mentioned something about him not voting in previous years.
Yeah, that's another point they make, that Roy Choi reportedly didn't even participate in the stockholder votes at the annual meetings in 2022 or 2023, kind of questioning his engagement as a shareholder.
Okay, so that covers the business plan and engagement issues.
Yeah.
But it gets more serious, right? There's a lawsuit involved.
It does get more serious. AGAE actually filed a lawsuit on June 11th, 2025.
Against who?
Against Knighted, Roy Choi himself, his mother Naomi Choi, and a business partner, Yu-Ting So. AGAE refers to them collectively as the Knighted Group.
Okay, what's the lawsuit about?
AGAE believes this group was involved in a year-long scheme, their words, to secretly pile up large amounts of AGA stock without telling anyone.
Without disclosure, how does that work?
Well, part of it involves filings with the SEC. AGAE alleges the Knighted Group filed deceptive and deficient Schedule 13D materials.
Ah, the 13Ds. Those are the forms you file when you buy up a big chunk of a company's stock, especially if you might want to influence things, right?
Exactly. They're crucial for transparency. So the lawsuit is trying to force them to file proper 13Ds, stop them, enjoin them from buying more shares for now, and make them vote their existing shares proportionally.
So AGA is basically accusing them of trying to sneakily gain influence through covert group buying.
That's the core of the legal claim, yes. A strategy to improperly sway the vote.
And beyond the legal filings, AGAE also raises concerns about Roy Choi's background.
They do. They bring up a past criminal misdemeanor conviction for taking property without owner consent. They note it involved jail time and probation, although they also state the sentence was suspended and the conviction was later set aside and dismissed.
Okay, so it was dismissed, but they're still bringing it up.
They are, and they connect it to his current business activities. AGAE claims his main businesses, which involve gambling-related services through, over 10 companies.
Gambling related.
Yeah, including one called Knighted Ventures, LLC. AGAE alleges these operate on the edge of legality.
Strong claim. Any specifics?
They mention investigations by the California Gambling Control Commission into alleged collusive arrangements aimed at getting around state gambling laws. These apparently led to some restrictions and required compliance reporting for Choi's businesses. And AGAE ties this together by pointing to his involvement in multiple lawsuits, arguing it shows a pattern, a tendency to play fast and loose with regulations and legal obligations.
So the overall picture they're painting is not just about business strategy, but about character and fitness to serve on the board.
Pretty much. They explicitly state that, in their view, Knighted's nominees add nothing to the board and don't have the skills needed for AGE's growth. It's quite direct.
And finally, what's the supposed impact of all this, according to AGE? How has Knighted's challenge affected the company?
AGAE claims these actions, particularly the litigation, have been costly and time-consuming, basically wasting company resources.
Okay.
But more than that, they allege these lawsuits have severely damaged relationships with multiple strategic partners.
Ouch, that could hurt business.
Right. They claim it actually caused AGAE to pull back from strategic business deals, resulting in lost business opportunities, especially in Asia. So they're arguing this fight is actively harming the company's prospects.
Okay, so we've heard AGE lay out their case, their performance, their strategy, and their pretty serious allegations against the challengers.
Yeah, quite a narrative. So wrapping this all up, what does this actually mean for you, the stockholder, listening right now? AG's call to action in their letter is very, very clear.
Crystal clear. They are urging stockholders, pleading really, to protect their investment by voting the company's white proxy card, and specifically voting for all 6 of AG's director nominees.
Right, and just as clearly, they want stockholders to withhold votes on the 3 nominees put forward by Knighted.
And they even give instructions on what not to do, right?
They do. They specifically say do not sign or return any proxy card or voting form sent by Knighted. Their advice, simply throw such materials away.
Wow, okay, very direct.
And if you do need help voting that white card or have questions, AJ provides contact info for their proxy advisors, a firm called McKenzie Partners, Inc.
Got it. What's the contact info?
You can reach them toll-free at 800-322-2885, or the direct line is 212-929-5510. Or you can email them, age@mckenziepartners.com.
Okay, good information for shareholders.
Yeah.
So let's sum this up. This deep dive, it's really given us a front row seat, or at least AGAE's view from the front row, of this high-stakes corporate control battle. What a situation.
It really is. And this kind of really contentious proxy fight, it's more than just boardroom theatrics, isn't it? It tells you so much about the dynamics, sometimes messy dynamics, between a company's leadership and the people who own its stock.
That's true.
And it makes you wonder, how might a dispute like this, one that's so personal and so public, how might it affect a company's ability to actually innovate and chase its long-term goals? Especially, in these fast-moving areas like immersive entertainment, blockchain, RWA tokenization that AGA says it's focused on. Regardless of who wins, what does this all mean for the future of AGE and maybe even for other companies facing similar challenges?